We're real life sisters, Kay and Shi, and we real life want to be your sisters too. Welcome to the family. No takesies backsies. Now let's get on with the Kay and Shi show.
Okay, so talking about how we handle it all. Now, one of the things that people always say to us is, you guys have so much going on. You have so many different things happening in your camp. And there was a time in our lives where we honestly felt like that was like, is that a bad thing? Like, we have so many interests. We have so many wants. We want to do and accomplish and see and be so much. And it wasn't until a very important mentor came along through a book and helped us have a new perspective as to what it might mean to have multiple passions.
So major shout out here to Marie Forleo. We have never gotten to meet her yet. But she has been a massive mentor and voice in our lives for a long time. I attended B school back in 2013. So 9 years we've had relationship with Marie Forleo. But it wasn't until her book, Everything is Figure Outable, that we got introduced to the concept brought forward here in just a minute that helped us shift that guilt and that question that Kay was just mentioning into an aha moment and awareness and understanding. And that was, she gave you permission to be a multi-passionate entrepreneur.
Ooh, we loved this messaging. What being a multi-passionate entrepreneur meant to us was that we got to have all kinds of multiple interests, and that those different interests could serve our entrepreneurial passions. It could serve our hearts and it could serve our pockets, right? Both of those things. And that's what we want for you. We want your hearts to grow. We want your banks to grow. We want your spirit banks to grow. We want everything to grow inside of you, because that's what one of our main overarching passions is. But she gave us this permission to say, you know what? We are multi-dimensional human beings, and trying to stick us into one category was just not going to happen.
So if that permission feels good to you, take it and internalize it. It is okay.
You're welcome.
To have multiple interests and to be a multi-passionate entrepreneur doesn't mean you aren't going to face criticism for it, that everyone will understand it, or that at times it won't sometimes ask so much of you that it can almost bring you to your knees. But if you're willing to be the kind of person that shows up for that and embraces that, then you have permission, just like we do, to be multi-passionate entrepreneurs.
Now, you may have heard this before, but just in case this is your very first time ever hearing this portion of what we're going to talk about, just want you to brace yourself, because this is pretty mind-blowing for us when we really took it in back in 2018. Now, you are a spiritual being who has been gifted with a really beautiful intellect, right? The mind, the brain, you have this incredible brain power, right? But you're still the spiritual, energetic being, and you're living a physical experience. So you are rooted as the spiritual being. You're gifted with the intellect. You're living in a physical experience. So even just by your very nature, you are multidimensional.
Yes, and each one of those levels and dimensions is going to have different desires and different needs and different outcomes. And being able to tune into those is what allows you to find those feelings we're all really seeking, right? Fulfillment, peace, happiness. When we understand that we're that spiritual being gifted with an intellect, having a physical experience, we understand that our already full experience is multidimensional. And so your interests and your passions can be as well. Now, something we would say here in this part is that kind of caveat that things can get really tough and that you will face criticism as you build something. And if you're multi-passionate and you've got one business going well and you start another business, this is where you've got conflict of interest, and it can be difficult because now you're splitting your time and your attention and your interest. So as we move through the Kay and Shi show, you'll hear us talk about navigating that line, because for us, the second passion, entrepreneurially speaking, emerged in 2015. And now here we are recording in 2022. We're finally, quote unquote, free from our jobs at the restaurant. So this was a 7-year build of being multi-passionate and basically working 2 jobs.
Now, while we went from the entrepreneurial life in the restaurant owner space over to the entrepreneurial life on this other side, we were not the entrepreneurs who had a business. we were the entrepreneurs who had a job. Shyla said we left our jobs, and we did. We had 9 to 5s. We had an office. Yes, we were the man.
Meetings, vendor reviews.
But it was corporate, man.
Yeah.
Like we left our corporate jobs, right? So
we're part of the Great Resignation.
We are part of the Great Resignation. So
Designers.
maybe you're the type of person who's getting into that entrepreneurial side of things. So yes, we were the ones in charge and the business owners, but we had a job job. And in order to make that transition out, we had to find somebody to come in and take that job so that we could be the business owners and really work it from an entrepreneurial perspective versus working in the trenches.
But it did take that time and that transition, and that was tough. But something that helped us was really following the energy and being able to understand specifically what we did, who we served, and how we served, and what we were good at. Especially if we were having one that was our large job, and we knew that that was the financial means to continue supporting our families and lives. We had to treat it seriously, and that we could build the other one in a way that helped us stay in that flame and in that lane and understand specifically who we could help. And I think understanding that niche and that specific area that we could serve and help helped us make a more lateral move than some others who might be more broad.
Well, we figured out what that strength was. We figured out what our lane was, and then we decided to stay within it. And after about 2 years of staying in the lane, guys, we've learned some pretty cool things.